Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently on our way to Eve in order to orbit it. This is not where we want to be, but unfortunately, we just gotta get these contracts out of the way so that hopefully our contracts start taking us to Duna at this point. So we're about 17 seconds away from a burn here. What burn is this? This is the burn to... Okay, this is our transfer burn. Gotcha. So we want to hit this fairly accurately, 700 meters per second, and that seems fine. We did warp around an entire orbit to get here, which is, great for our life support. Put that on the node, please. There we go. SAS was not set up correctly because I had just started up the game. That's fine. So let's get into position here. And we're going to be in low orbit briefly around Eve. So that is going to give us some amount of science. It's not going to be tremendous, but it will be some. So that means we want to reserve our unrerunnable sciences until then, which is fine. So we'll just collect any science that we have. And I'm going to pin open our experiment storage unit for now. That'll be absolutely wonderful. So we're just slowing ourselves right on down here to get our intercept going. And that's looking great for the time being. We've got about 30 seconds of burn time left here, and everything is looking wonderful. I'll physics warp us through this a little bit. 10 seconds left. Let's come out of that physics warp, and we want to hit this quite accurately. 30 seconds. 20. Okay, 7.4 meters per second. 5 meters per second. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Let's see where we are. Let's put ourselves on orbital prograde, and this is a periapsis magnificent. 123,000. That should work. That should count as low orbit 100%. That's above the atmospheric height, and that'll be ideal. So our next maneuver, of course, is going to be at Eve. And we don't really care about this inclination, but it's not a terrible inclination either. So we want to, right here, add a maneuver, and we're just going to barely dip into orbit. Just barely. So that's going to be right about there. 87.6 meters per second. That'll do. Now, we might have to adjust that after we warp here, and this is going to be in about 6 months. But that's a absolutely fine coast period. I do not mind that. So that's going to be our next burn, and we're going to get some scientific data on the way in. So what we want to do is we want to warp to here, about 4 days before then. So that's fine. It'll take a little while to warp here, but this shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, it'll take a little bit. I'll be right back at the end of this warp, though. Okay, so here we are, just coming out of the warp. We're now in space high over Eve's eastern sea. We don't want to grab any of this except the gravity scan. We can grab the gravity scan and collect that, but we don't want to take the mystery goo observation or the materials study at this time. And let's drop our minimum science threshold down to 0.1. So that looks good. Let's put ourselves on the node and let's see what this burn is actually looking like. Can we modify this at all? Not really. This was pretty good. Okay, so we didn't really have any changes when we warped. That sounds phenomenal. So now what we need to do is we can't grab another gravity scan here over the eastern sea, so I want to set the threshold to be 1.0 at this time. And then we want to kind of just warp in until here. So we want to watch for biome changes. So we want to warp in fairly cautiously. This maneuver, as you can see, is going to be in about 3 days, and we're almost certainly going to have some biome changes between now and then. So let's bring this right on down. Okay, that's lowlands. We'll grab our gravity scan, and we're, of course, going to want to collect that data. Okay, now we're over the midlands. We'll grab that and collect that data. We can kind of see our orbit better here, but this is in space high over the lowlands. We already have that. I don't know why it pulled us out of orbit or out of warp there. It shouldn't have. There's shallows. That looks good. Oh, it's probably because of these is why it pulled us out of warp there. That's going to be kind of irritating, but I guess it's fine. So that's the Eastern Sea. That's the shallows. We've got all that. That's lowlands. That's midlands. No issues there. That's lowlands. That's shallows. Yeah, we're probably not going to get too many more biomes on the way here, and this is going to keep interrupting us. The unfortunate thing... You know what we could do? We can just grab these observations and just keep them for now. That way, it shouldn't interrupt this, but we can dump them once we get into low orbit. So that way, it should only interrupt us if we can grab a gravity scan. And we didn't have that one at all. So that one was worth 100 science. Oh. That just made these inoperable. Well, that's unfortunate. I wonder how much science we're going to miss out on. We should have brought a scientist. I chose not to. Yeah, I should have thought about that. That's my own fault. Okay, we can grab this gravity scan. We're not really here for the science. We're really here for the contract. The science is just the cherry on top. So we're going to get a decent amount of science out of this. The question is how much? I mean, it's going to be some, for sure. But this is sad. This is very sad. Okay, we're going to just warp in here and look for some nice biome data. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so we're now in space near, and the question is, how much are we going to miss out on? 70 and 175. It's not quite going to be that much. That's not too bad, actually. We're going to get most of this here. So we can grab our crew report, we can grab our magnetometer report, and we're going to collect all of that data. We're going to grab another gravity scan. Actually, we should reset that one because that's going to be a little different. Let's collect any data that we've got up here. This is not available at this time, but we can have Bill EVA. We're going to grab our EVA report. There we go. I'm very sad about this, but that's my own mistake, and I will own that. So that just is what it is. So at this point, we can grab this gravity scan. There we go. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to have Bill EVA, and we're going to grab the EVA report here. Perfect. And we're going to collect all of that data up here. So just looking for additional biomes here and waiting for this burn. We're going to enter orbit, but only just barely. So let's make sure that we're set to the node. There we go. We've got about 50 seconds here, and let's just warp forward very cautiously. If we're over new biomes, we have new science to grab. But otherwise, we're going to need to burn. Okay, so we've got about 5 seconds here. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay. So we're watching that apoapsis there. It's now positive, and I think we overshot this a little bit, but no, it's not quite there yet. Hang on, 15.5 meters per second. That'll do. Okay, so that sounds good, and we've got the Explodium C here. Explodium Shallows. Okay, that's fine. Not a big deal there. An Explodium C. So that's the contract parameter complete. We are, of course, going to have to come back. So for right now, I want to put us back over at prograde, and I want to get us back up to escape velocity. You can see we're past the periapsis at this point. This won't be the most efficient thing in the world, and we're watching for additional biomes over here. Hopefully we see a few more. That would be good. We're just going to keep going like this until such a time as we get out of low orbit. And I mean, we'll keep doing it in high orbit too. So there's a lot of data that we can get here still. So I want to burn very slowly here, just until we're in escape trajectory, about like that. So that's going to be in like 12 days right now. That's fine. And at this juncture, we just want to start warping. And we're watching. Hello, Bill EVA. Grab that EVA report, hop back in, grab a gravity scan. Perfect. Collect all that. Midlands, same thing again. Bill EVA. Grab the EVA report. This is peaks. We need to collect all that data. Ooh, we missed some. Okay. This is happening very fast here. Gravity scan. Collect that. Peaks again. EVA report. Excellent. Collect all that data. Collect the data, please. Missed one here because it didn't collect the data. Collect the data? We already have the Highlands. Oh, okay. We need to go in here then and go into the negative gravioli detector and review this data, and we need to reset that. Okay. Midlands. That's shallows. Okay. Cool. What other data can we get here? Well, there's more Midland data. We already have that, but we need the EVA report from the Midlands. So we'll collect all of that. Lowlands, Midlands, that's all fine for now. And we're definitely going up here. So we're going to get out of in-space near fairly soon. Okay. So this is the Explodium Sea right now. In space near the shallows. So far, so good. We're just keeping an eye out for additional science. Shallows and Explodium Sea are the most common biomes for Eve, so, or at least very common biomes. So we're not surprised that there's a lot of time here. When are we going to get out of in-space near, though, I wonder? Once we do, things are going to be a little slower for us, for sure. So we're over the Midlands, that's Highlands. Let's go ahead and warp a little bit here. So that's Lowlands, that's Shallows, Lowlands. We're going to be pulled out of warp very frequently here, and that's absolutely understood and fine. Every time the biome changes, we'll get pulled out of warp right now. Okay, now we're in space high. So at this point, I want to close our service bay. But at this point, we've gotten the data from in-space low that we're going to. We essentially just did another flyby, but a much lower flyby. And now we're just looking for things like this gravity scan. So we'll take that and collect that. Excellent. And we're just going until we get out of here at this point. Okay, so that's craters. We'll take that. That's another few points of science. Wonderful. Anything else here? Can go a little faster than this, I think. 100x seems okay. As we get further away, of course, the biome will change less and less and less, which we expect. Nothing too significant here right now, as we watch it recede in the background there. And we're going to be in a very, very similar orbit to Eve, but we are going to escape, right? Hang on, let's double check that. Yes, we are going to escape, but we're still 10 days away from that escape. So we've got time. Let's see what else we can maybe get from our biomes. Anything? I saw Western Sea there for a moment, and it popped up another thing there. That was interesting. It didn't pull us out of warp. Okay. Once again, it didn't pull us out of warp, but now we're over the sun. So that looks fine. We are out of here. So our focus now, of course, is on returning to Kerbal. So we'll set this as our target. The apoapsis is behind us here, so that's a little awkward. If we were to burn sometime around here, what would this look like for a return journey? Okay, that's kind of terrible in terms of timing. We're not surprised about that, of course, and this is a little bit better out over here. But what I want to do at this point is I think we just match planes. So we go over to the descending node over here, and we get 2.1 degrees of inclination change. Something like that. So that's 401 meters per second. That seems absolutely fine. We've got lots of delta V here. And we're actually still warping. Okay, there we go. Now let's turn for that position. And that burn will be in 113 days. So let's warp on over to that. So that's all looking good. We'll get that inclination change done, and that'll make it a little easier for us to find an encounter, but it's not, strictly speaking, necessary to find an encounter. It's just convenient, and we know that we're going to have to wait this long anyway, so we might as well do it. We've got plenty of Delta V. I'm not worried about it. We've got almost 3,000 here, so that's absolutely fine. We'll commence this burn in about a minute, 50 seconds, 40, 30, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, let's get our inclination changed. This is going to be about another 30 seconds in this burn, and we've still got lots of fuel in our side tanks. We should probably take stock on our food situation, but honestly, we're doing pretty well. This was a better transfer window than the last one. 1.4 meters per second. We are seeing an encounter with Eve here, which is definitely not ideal. I'm wondering how far away that encounter with Eve is. Okay, we're not seeing it now that we got that last little bit of inclination in. That's good. So if we were to burn, hypothetically, sometime around here, what would that encounter look like? So that's really bad in terms of timing. Okay, what would it look like up over here? That's almost equally bad, to be honest. This is going to require an orbit. Luckily, orbits for Eve, because we're closer to the sun, are faster. So we can definitely do an orbit. I don't think 2 is good, which is a good thing. We don't want to have to do extra orbits. But we can do this right about here, which is about perfect. 924 meters per second, and this periapsis is going to end up being... That's pretty high, but we can work on dialing that in a little bit here. So we want to bring this periapsis in pretty substantially here. Okay. That's looking much better. I'd like this to be somewhere around 40 kilometers. And we're definitely going to radial retrograde on the way in. I do not want to hit the atmosphere at this speed. But actually, I don't know what speed that's going to look like. It's going to be fast. But that's a very curved orbit, so that's a pretty doable aerobrake, probably. We would probably be able to just return with that, but it would be energetic, and I'm going to not. So that seems fine. We'll align to this node, and we may as well collect any data that we've got. Okay, we've got everything we're going to. Sounds good. So this burn is going to be in 382 days. Let's take a look at our food situation. Oh, we've still got 2/3 of our food. That's not a concern at all then. So that's absolutely wonderful, and let's begin this warp. Fantastic. I'm not going to make you sit through it. We'll be back at the end of it. Okay, so here we are right at the end of this warp, and we are currently approximately prepared to commence our return home transfer burn. So let's get a little bit further along here. We've got about 40 seconds until this burn. 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. And homeward we go. Excellent. It's going to be about 900 meters per second. We'll still have a little bit of fuel left over in these tanks, which is good because I think... Do we still have any food up here? Yeah, we definitely do. So we're still eating the food out of these tanks. And of course, we've still got some food in these food hex cans as well, which... I'd like to redesign our entire setup for life support eventually. That's certainly something I'm going to do. This is a very janky design, but it works. So we're just sticking with it for now. But I do want to redesign how the life support modules work on these craft. That definitely needs to happen. Okay, so we're at about 300 meters per second left in this burn. And yeah, we're going to have somewhere around 100 meters per second left in these tanks for our radial retrograde burn, which is fine. That's more than enough. I like it. So we've got about 8 seconds left here, and we want to hit this very accurately, if we can. We need to be quite precise with this burn. So this last 2.2 meters per second, I'm just going to barely get... And we need to adjust a little bit here. There we go. We'll call that good. Okay, what did we get for our periapsis? Our periapsis is 81 kilometers. Okay, let's go to prograde, and I want to tune that down a little bit. I'm going to thrust limit this down to 1% thrust. This is not going to need to be much. And we're just going to very gently bring this down. We want to target about 40 kilometers. That'll do. We're going to tune that further with a radial retrograde, so it would have been fine as it was, but I just want to be in a position where if for whatever reason we lost control of this craft, which shouldn't happen, I want it to come back no matter what. So that's absolutely fine, and I think that this would be enough to aero capture it down to 40 kilometers. I don't think we would need much DV to get into some semblance of orbit. It wouldn't need to get much done there. So yeah, this would be... If we were to do that, this would be about 100 meters per second to aero capture. We would definitely lose 100 meters per second to drag at 40 kilometers. So yeah, this would aero capture. It might require multiple aero braking passes. We're not actually going to do that, of course. We've got fuel, but we're in a position where even if something were to go wrong and our engine were to, stop working, as happens in reality occasionally, we'd be fine. This would be absolutely a-okay. Might take multiple aero brake passes, but it's not a big deal. What we actually want to do, of course, is we want to do a burn about here. This is going to be a primarily retrograde burn, but we want to maintain our periapsis at... I want to pin that open, thank you. We want to maintain our periapsis at a decent altitude. So that's going to end up being a burn that's something about like... We're overshooting this slightly, so we need to change our timing on it a little bit to be about there. That's about the timing we're looking for. So this will put our apoapsis at about 52 kilometers and our periapsis at about 30 kilometers, and that'll be in a much better position. This is technically going to be a re-entry burn, I believe. So that's fine. We like it. We want to align to that burn, of course, and that burn is going to be in about another 6 months. So we're going to warp on forward to that, and I'm, again, not going to make you sit through that. We'll be there in just a moment. Okay, so here we are zoning into the Kerbal SOI. Oh my, that came up very fast. So Kerbal is right here, and we need to retract our solar panels. We need to get oriented, which is happening. There we go. We'll get our solar panels retracted because we're about to re-enter here. And that's absolutely phenomenal. So we've got about 40 seconds until this burn commences, and we're going to be ditching these quite quickly. As you can see, we've still got a little food out in here, so that's wonderful. We have more than enough food, that's for sure. Currently, it's looking like we're going to be coming down, well, probably on this land over here. We're over a big ocean right now, but that's not going to remain. So that's absolutely fine. We'll be commencing this re-entry burn in about 10 seconds, and as you can see, we're coming in reasonably fast here, but it's not tremendously fast. I've definitely survived faster re-entries than this. 2, 1... Oh. This just changed on us, and then it changed back when I started this. And now it's telling us this is wildly broken. Okay, we are out of fuel in these side tanks. Let's ditch those. We're in the atmosphere right now, and we just want to continue this burn, although I'm noticing we are going to have something burn off here probably eventually. We're going to want to move over to surface velocity minus and just burn like this. So that way we're in a little bit better of a situation. Okay, so we're just going to continue to decelerate. I'm going to burn off all of this fuel right now, and we're just going to slow down as much as we possibly can. As I said, this is a re-entry burn, not our standard radial retrograde burn. We're down below orbital velocity now, and things are looking good. We're going to continue to slow down. This may actually end up being a water landing. We'll see. Okay, so we're out of fuel, and we'll ditch that. Perfect. So now our heat shield is doing heat shield things, and you can see we're starting to accelerate again. That's absolutely fine, but we should start to decelerate quite soon, actually. We're not accelerating very quickly. So this is looking good. Yeah, there we go. We're starting to decelerate now. And we're not moving all that fast. So 1,700 meters per second, and when we look at our horizontal speed, that's definitely starting to drop. Real question here is, are we going to be in for a land or sea landing? And I hope that we land somewhere up here. In fact, I think that's fairly likely. We're getting a lot of deceleration now. Not up here. We would land probably like here, now that I look at it. It's fine, either way. Land and sea are both okay. Once again, we will use the heat shield for litho braking if we need to, but sea landings are definitely safer. We are slowing down, and we've got a fair amount of ocean ahead of us still, so we may actually end up landing in the ocean. That would be absolutely ideal. 1,400 meters per second at this point. And, I mean, we're only at 20 kilometers. Full-on plasma sheath at this point. 1,200 meters per second. Still have a fair amount of ocean here. Something just crashed. That might have been our engine already hitting. But yeah, look how slow we're going now. 800 meters per second, and we've still got ocean here. We'll get drogues out soon. Drogues are out. Let's get rid of as much horizontal speed with those drogues as we can. Main is out. We're in for a water landing. I love it. So we're going to warp right on down. Water landings are far safer because we don't have to litho brake, so that is going to be good. This is just a little bit too heavy of a payload for these parachutes, and it doesn't come down quite as slow as I'd like for land landings. It's absolutely fine for a water landing. Splashdowns are more tolerant of higher speeds. Now, with the amount of fuel we had, we could have done a much more controlled landing, but it's fine. I'm not terribly concerned. So I'll bring this right on down and recover these lads. Bill is very happy about returning home. I mean, that was his second trip out to Eve, and each one costs him 3 years at the rate we go. Actually, I think the last one was 4 years, and this one was 3. It was slightly better, for sure. So we could grab a gravity scan here if we can collect that data, but we can't, and I don't really care that much about the 8 data, so it's fine. We'll recover this vessel. Losing out on the material study and the mystery goo observation is sad, but overall, that's only going to be, what, like 200 science tops? It's a decent chunk. But that was my mistake, and I'm definitely willing to own it. We don't need all the science in the game in order to max out the tree anyway. It's not a big deal. We're going to get so much science. It's absolutely fine. So we're going to complete our contract, of course. That was worth 1805 science, which is a pretty good chunk of science. And that contract is now complete. We can see, excellent. So we've got about 2.5 mil at this point. So now I want to check mission control here and see what we've got. Science data from space around the moon. This is something that I think we can just instantly do. Science data from surface of Minmus. I don't think we have anything that we left on Minmus. Maybe. Another Eve exploration mission. Oh, they want us to actually splash down on Eve? We could do this with a robotic probe. I wish it would give up on Eve. I want to go to Duna. But we need to definitely get that finished up. So we can do that with a robotic probe. We'll grab that for now. I think that's okay. I just want to get this cleaned up, so that'll be fine. It's worth a lot to get it done, and if we're not planning a return trip, that'll make things a lot easier. If we don't need to bring life support, that'll make things a lot easier. And all we need to do is splash down into the oceans of Eve. So the core problem there, of course, we also need to make ground contact. Does landing in the oceans count for that? Or do we have to do both? I don't know. That'll be interesting. Well, it's fine. All we need to do is send a really light probe. It should be okay. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we'll start thinking about how that mission will look. It's probably not going to be particularly complicated. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.